Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here to hear our stories and get inspired like I am, and also to find your passion if you haven't yet. Whew, this is harder than chasing guys out there. I'm from Argentina, from Resistencia Chaco, the north part of Argentina. And when I was 3 years old, I started to get very sick. It all started with a cold and a strep throat that would never go away. My parents took me everywhere. We tried every single doctor, witches, and everything that we could possibly try. I took so many medicines, and nothing would work. Finally, a friend of my dad told him that he needed to take me to this specialist that was right next to his job. So after trying so many things, he was like, okay, I'll give it a try and we'll go see that specialist. They did some blood work, run numerous tests, and we found out that I had leukemia. The doctor told my parents that I had some sort of acute leukemia and I needed to be rushed to Buenos Aires. Finally, my dad knew that I had leukemia and knew where to take me. We were so poor and didn't have any money. We requested assistance from the community, and we traveled to Buenos Aires full of hope. But when we got there, the doctors told my parents that there was no hope, that they just had to watch me die, because the cancer was so bad and I was so little that I wasn't going to even resist treatment. My parents were devastated. They begged the doctors to treat me anyway, and so they did. Sometime during my treatment, after praying so many times, God heard my dad's prayers, and he gave me another chance. Sometime during treatment, I was cancer-free, and the doctors couldn't believe it. They didn't know what happened, how it was even possible, but they kept me in treatment until I was 13 years old. During my childhood, I couldn't go out and play like a normal kid. I was always so sick. I had to wake up super early, couldn't have breakfast because they were gonna do some blood work. And then after chemotherapy and radiation, I would be so dizzy and sick. I just couldn't play. And that's all I wanted to do as a child. During my time that I was sick, living in a hospital and at a hotel, all I could do was watch TV. That's all I did, coloring books and watch TV. Sometime during that time, I came across this show called Without Conviction. The show was about real-life stories of people that were victimized, and the criminals were never convicted for their crimes. But the one show that stood with me in my head and my heart was a story about Sofia. Sofia was a young girl that moved to a bigger city, precisely Buenos Aires. And she applied for a nanny job, met this lady at the train station. The lady took her to her house, introduced her to two kids that she was going to babysit, and showed Sofia which her room was going to be. When Sofia walked in the room, the lady pushed her, shut the door behind her, and that was it. Sofia was all alone, confused. She didn't know what happened. She didn't know what was going on. Hours later, two men walked in the room, beat Sofia up, and raped her numerous times. I was in shock that this was happening to a human being. She was all by herself, and nobody helped her. And this was Sofia's life for a while. She was raped many times by different men, over and over. I grew up, I went back to my hometown, went to the Air Force. I failed the test, so I had to come back. My mom wanted me to be a teacher. I never liked that idea. So I Came back to Resistencia Chaco, and the only career that was open was a teacher training college. So I signed up because I didn't want to waste a whole year. My mom was so happy that I was going to be a teacher. Poor thing. So I went to college. I didn't like it, but that's how I learned a little bit of English. Then I met a group of missionaries from Nashville, and I married one of them. I moved to Nashville. And a year into the country, I finally got my work permit. And I had the amazing opportunity to work for Free for Life International and run their Hispanic division. And Free for Life International is a nonprofit organization that works against human trafficking. So when I had that interview, I was in shock. I was like, I'm gonna be able to help people like Sophia. Now there's gonna be somebody doing that, and that's me. So I applied for the job. I was gonna be a community outreach coordinator. I was gonna do trainings on human trafficking, but I didn't even have a car. But I signed up for the job, and I was like, I'll figure it out, because that's what I always do. I sign up, and then I figure the rest. So I did, and during that time, I found out a lot of things, really bad things about my husband, and the marriage could no longer go. So a year into the marriage in this country, I wanted to go back home with my family. But I was working a trafficking case. Here I was with my Sophia, a girl from Mexico that moved to the US with her sister. She wanted a better life, a better job opportunity. She wanted to make more money and help her mother back in Mexico who was battling cancer. She went to an ESL class that was given at a church. She met a lady there, and when she met this lady, the lady introduced her to two other friends. The friends followed her to her house, found out where she lived, who she lived with, and their routine. And one day, they showed up. They showed up at her house and told her, you need to come with us, or we're gonna kill your sister. This girl refused and tried to fight them, but she got stabbed with an ice pick. They took her. They didn't even take her to a doctor. And she almost died as a consequence. But she made it through, only to find out what her life was going to be like for the following 3 years. They would make her call her sister and say that she was fine, that she didn't want to go back with them, that she didn't need to call the police, she was okay. And this man took her from state to state and sold her as a slave for sex trafficking. But this time, I already done trainings on law enforcement, the sheriff department, TSA at the airport. And it was really funny because every relationship that I started with these companies or organizations of people that I was going to talk to was always through emails and phone for the longest time, months, setting up a meeting. And then I would show up. And in their head, they're thinking like, you know, this woman is going to come and talk to me. But then they would see me, and it's this young girl. At the time, I was 22 years old. I'm 34 now. I know I don't look like it. And it was shocking, but I trained them on how to see whether somebody's being a trafficked victim, what are the signs. So there was a group of vice officers here in Nashville that did a sting and rescued this woman, my Sophia, the one I just told you about. She was trafficked for 3 years, and I got to be there to help her. We also worked along with FBI agents, and I was in shock that they didn't have any female bilingual officers. I was like, there's so many people here. I mean, this is the FBI. They don't have anybody. I was like, okay. There were so many things that I wanted to do, but I couldn't do it because I was just a resident at the time, and I couldn't do a lot of things. So I decided I was going to go to college and get my degree in criminal justice while I waited to become a citizen, a U.S. citizen. The wait was like 7 years in total. So I went to college, and then when it was time for me to apply for the citizenship, I studied for the test. I went and did the test. I passed. I didn't go back home. But the day that I became a citizen was the day that I decided to apply for the police academy. And I didn't know what I was signing up for. All I knew was that I hate running. If you see me running, you better run because something's wrong. I didn't tell my mom because my uncle was also a police officer, and he got ambushed and killed, and my mom wouldn't be happy about it. So after I signed up and trained really hard because I really wanted to do that, I told my mom about it, and she didn't say anything, but she knew that I'm not an athlete and that I do not run. So not only I trained really hard and I went to the academy and I graduated, but I ran with a broken rib. Because during DT, I got knee on my rib and it broke, I guess. And I didn't know, I was just in a lot of pain. But yes, I made the runs. I only fell out of formation one time. But I never forgot about the reason why I'm doing this. Like, the story of Sophia always stuck with me. And I pushed through the runs. I pushed through everything. And God helped me power through all these things that have happened in my life so that I can do something for somebody else. I'm a police officer now, believe it or not. Officer Hobbs is what some people would say because I'm so short and look like the bunny from Zootopia movie. I don't know if any of you are familiar. But I'm at 3 years where I can apply to be in a position, hopefully to fight sex trafficking. And that's how my story continues. So thank you everyone for being here.